Good morning, if you are listening to us from any country of Latin America. Good afternoon, if you are listening and watching from Europe. My name is Philippe Casapo. I am the president of Enrich in Latin America and Caribbean. I'm very glad to welcome you today to perform together our important webinar on women leadership in innovation and gender equity. Enrich in Latin America, is an association that was created in order to strengthen the relationships between Europe and the Latin American countries for science, technology, and innovation. And together we perform a bunch of activities that aims at putting science, technology, and innovation at the heart of our activities, at our businesses, and therefore be able to address the challenges of the 21st century. One very important challenge of the 21st century is gender equity. It is a core value of the European Union, and that's the reason why today we have the honor of receiving three women who are great leaders in innovation in Latin America. So today we'll have the opportunity of speaking with Mrs. Gianna Sagazio, who is the Innovation Director of the National Confederation of Industries in Brazil. She will therefore represent Brazil and Latin America and talk to us about gender equity innovation in public policies. Then we'll have the honor of receiving Mrs. Monica Carla Alene Rizzi, who is the Director of Business Development for Latin America at Tech Mahindra. She will represent Peru and Latin America, speaking about women innovation leadership in companies. And finally, we'll have the opportunities of receiving Mrs. Karen Mirkin, who is a Business Development Manager and Startup and Venture Capital for Argentina, Uruguay, Bolivia, and Paraguay at Amazon Web Service, AWS. So three wonderful examples of women leadership and gender equity in innovation. Once again, welcome. Please feel free to ask your question on the YouTube channel. We'll be glad to answer your question inside of our debate we'll have at the end of this meeting. So without taking much time, I would like to now give the floor to Mrs. Gianna Sagazio. As mentioned before, Gianna Sagazio is the Innovation Director of the National Confederation of Industry in Brazil. She is one of the major leadership of innovation. She is responsible for the executive coordination of the Entrepreneurial Mobilization for Innovation, the MEI in Brazil, and also the CNISOSA Open Innovation Partnership. She participates to many boards of science and technology, of the financements of science and technology. She's also our member of the board of Enrich. And Gianna, thank you so much for joining us today. It is really a great pleasure to have you. And please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Philippe. It's my pleasure. Put my presentation now. Okay, so I'd like to thank Enrich for the invitation, of which I am honored to be part of the board to speak on a topic so relevant for the development of Brazil and the world. It is not possible to have the development without gender equity, among others. The 1988 Constitution, Brazilian Constitution, marks the democratic transition and the institutionalization of human rights in Brazil, raising broad and equal political participation as a fundamental right, declaring that men and women are equal in rights and obligations in order to establish gender parity as a principle of our Constitution. This perspective is inserted in the context of recognizing gender equality as an essential element for a society that intends to be democratic and for increasing the quality of that democracy. The issue of gender inequality with consequences in low political representations, among others, is a global reality in which women continue to be underrepresented and marginalized in institutional decision-making spaces. Brazil is part of this global reality of inequality in treatment between men and women. An example of this is the fact that women were one of the last social contingents to conquer political rights in the contemporary democracy. In Brazil, the right to vote for women was only regulated on February 24, 1932. And so, bringing this discussion to the present time, the COVID-19 pandemic has raised new barriers to building inclusive and prosperous economies and societies. Pre-existing gender gaps have amplified the crisis between men and women, even as women have been at the front lines of managing the crisis as essential workers. The hardest hit sectors by lockdowns and rapid digitalization are those where women are more frequently employed. Combined with the additional pressures of providing care in the home, the crisis has halted progress towards gender parity in several economies and also in several industries. Gender-sensitive recovery strategies will be critical in making up ground lost during 2020 and 2021 to prevent long-term scarring in the labor market. Leaders have an unprecedented opportunity to build more resilient and gender-equal economies by investing in inclusive workplaces, creating more equitable care systems, advancing women's rise to leadership positions, applying a gender lens to reskilling and redeployment, and embedding gender parity into the future. So, where is Brazil? Here, we have the best countries in gender equality. Here is the source is the World Economic Forum. And where is Brazil in gender equality? We are not in a good position. Brazil is above the average in education, economy, and education, but falls short in politics. What does not mean that our situation is favorable. Brazil is among the biggest economies in the world, and this position is not comparable with the importance of the Brazilian economy. And here is the performance, Brazil's performance in gender equality. Please, this research, this survey, we had this survey in 2019. So more women in low-paid jobs result in income disparity. Gender gaps in income persists and are underpaid by more women in low-paid jobs and more men in high-paid jobs. Women received 56.22% of men's wages. In Brazil, women received 77% percent of men's wages. Okay. And here, a big challenge for gender equality. Here we have the situation of women's political empowerment. The average score for the political empowerment of women in the world is 0.2, while in Brazil it is 0.1. This means 180 place for Brazil in a ranking of 156 countries. Here we have the participation of women in Brazilian politics. The average score for women is not good too. Well, when each continent will reach gender parity, it will take 69 years to reach the parity in Brazil and Latin America. So we have a lot of work to do here. Some of the gender gaps, projections suggest 5% of all employed women lost their jobs during the pandemic, compared with 3.9% of employed men. And LinkedIn data further shows a marked decline of women's hiring into leadership roles. Here's some initiatives. As I don't have many time, I will let the presentation for you, right? It's important to mention a global platform that is the Sustainable Development Goals, and we have the gender equality in this global platform. Here we have now these are the main goals. These two. Here we have the 5 gender innovation principles. That is very important. So make a high-level corporate commitment to adopt a gender responsible approach. Design innovations that include women as end users. Ensure innovations are gender responsive. Evaluate the gender responsive impact, and scale innovations that provide sustainable solutions. An effective response demands a gender approach. I can mention here some of these approach or actions that could be done. For example, promote specific strategies for the women empowerment and economic recovery, involve women at all stages of the response and in a national and local decision-making, promote direct consultations with women organizations, adopt direct compensation measures for informal workers. These are some examples that could be of what could be done. Why gender equity is important to innovate? Well, we can mention here a McKinsey report that covered 366 public companies in many countries and industries, and they found that those which were more ethically and gender diverse performed better than others. So it's very important. In one wide-ranging study by MIT and Carnegie Mellon, they found that teams that included women got better results, and the higher the proportion of women was, the better the teams did. This is a very important an example of what we are saying. For the startups run by women receive less funding, but they generate more revenue per dollar invested. And here, it's important to mention also the labor market, what is happening in the labor market. And these are some of the main jobs. And here we have also, we can see what the situation for the women in these projections. So to conclude, the importance of gender equity to promote business innovation, because I'm talking from the business perspective, the diversity and innovation are linked, and those who do not have diversity lose in innovation and competitiveness. The difference between employees' diversities, their thoughts, and that is where the best ideas that generate innovation and more innovative cultures from. So diversity helps to improve the organization and attracts and retains talents. Valuing diversity helps companies and brands to better connect with different consumers' profiles. And also, women and minority groups continue to be considerable underrepresented in leading positions in Brazilian companies. Once more, I believe that it's very important to develop public policies and corporate policies to reduce the gap and to promote women. Equality is the end goal, and equity is the means to get there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gianna, for your wonderful presentation. So it is striking that you give us some numbers that proves that we still lack a lot of equity in innovation, in policies, in businesses between men and women. But at the same time, the numbers that you have shown to us proves that the businesses that are run by women generates even more results, right? Even more development.
Yes.
So this is maybe the great challenge that we have to face together, how to improve equity and how to improve diversity in order to generate more businesses, more results for a more sustainable world. Thank you very much, Gianna. We have to say, as representative of Enrich, that we do admire you very much in Brazil for what you represent for innovation. Okay?
Thank you.
So now I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Monica Carla Allende Rizzi. Monica, thank you so much for joining us also today. Monica is a director of business development for Latin America at Tech Mahindra. She is also a wonderful leadership in innovation. She is a business administrator and she has a very long record of multidisciplinary program and projects in management, in businesses, in Latin America, in Brazil, also in Portuguese-speaking countries in Africa, also in Portugal, in Spain. She has a very large IT experience, professional experience with international consulting firms. So Monica is also a wonderful example of what we call leadership, women leadership in innovation. So Monica, thank you so much for joining us today. And please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Felipe, for such a wonderful introduction. Not even I could be able to say so many good things about me. Thank you. I want to congratulate, first thing, I'd like to congratulate Gianna. It is very hard to follow her after a wonderful presentation. That was incredible, Gianna. Parabéns. It was very, very good. She's told you everything. I'd like to take 15 minutes just to tell you my experience as a woman in the IT world. Gianna has already told you we earn less, we do more, we're more detailed, we make up for lots of problems created in projects. We're very down to earth. We work well with people, or we try to work well with people, and we do perform better than some men do. Now, why is it that the IT world belongs to men? I think this is a cultural thing, and I want to talk a little bit. My 15 minutes were around culture. Coming from Tech Mahindra, which is an Indian company, having women as directives is not something that you can see easily. And it's mostly because we women would like to be empowered, like Gianna said, and we'd like to be part of the group. And sometimes a chauvinist culture does not let women be part of the group. It is kind of a gentleman's club. But this has happened more in my age. I'm a little older than most people that do digital innovation today. And I've seen the change with millennials where people don't mind anymore. It is about who does the great work, who's actually very good at what they do. And I agree again with Gianna that it's going to take time for everything to create a gender equality action. But in IT, people like me, we don't see gender anymore. We don't see people anymore. We just see what they can do, what they actually can do. This is what really takes me aback. We don't choose because it's a girl or it's a guy. We just want to know who's done better. And then it is about opportunity. If we don't give women opportunity, they won't have the experience. And by having the experience, we will have much more leaders, women leaders in IT from here onwards. What we're working with in Latin America, and we're working with in Tech Mahindra, is that we have tried to open up to various startups here in Brazil and Latin America, and we have given a certain amount of chance, and we have, like Gianna said, with some regulations saying 50% of these startups need to be run by women and 50% would be run by men. Something like this. 50% need to be run by women. And why do we do this? Because again, we think that there is a lack of experience within women because men have more experience and we need them to give us a little bit more of a thrive. Me personally, I like working with people that are detailed and are thorough and go to the extra mile, go the extra limit. But like me, I think professional women just don't like to be excluded. And that's why there's so many areas where women have 80% of the jobs, like nurses or teachers. We just don't like to be excluded. So how do we work like this regarding innovation? It is about having the best there is in the new universities. It is the best there is, the young people, the best people that we can hope for, the best people we could work with, and thriving them, encouraging them to bring us something that will promote women that have no chance or non-opportunities. Promoting opportunities for other women is exactly what we're doing right now. We're telling them, if you can make jobs, or you can create jobs for other women, and you can create experiences for other women, experiences that they like, places that they can belong to, this is exactly what we want to talk to you about. And we work with from automation, IoT, structuring, new projects, new ways of thinking. And the best practices established by men do not apply to best practices established by every single company that like to be agile. And women are multitask. We do 500 things at the same time. And this is exactly what I wanted to tell you here. Learn a little bit of how we work. We always say, well, women are hysterical, or women don't know how to relate. We do know how to relate, and we multitask, and this makes things more agile. And this is something that we should encourage others to try to do. In the innovation world, in the millennial world, the gender has created somewhat a pattern of equity, a pattern of equality, and this will generate much more money within both sexes, both structures. Again, Gianna told me today that diversity equals money. I didn't know that. And I'm so happy. I didn't know it in numbers. I knew it inside of me. I am so happy to know that whatever we've been doing in the last 20 years will make the company create much more equity and be happy with it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for inviting me. I am so happy to be within these fantastic women. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Monica. This is very important to listen to the reality, the day-to-day basis of what it is to be a woman that aims at leadership for innovation. We are learning a lot from your experience, and we do see once again that there is a lot of opportunities to develop further this kind of initiative in all Latin America, also in Europe, and the rest of the world, as you represent also an Indian company, right?
Correct. We're doing our part when it comes to pushing women. We're doing our part.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to have a debate on that in a very few minutes, ask some questions and see what we can develop together in order to strengthen the presence of women innovation. But first, I would like to share with you that unfortunately, Mrs. Karen Mirkin from Amazon Web Services won't be able to join us today. She has a personal setback, so she sent us some message that she would not be able, unfortunately, to enter our Zoom room today. We are very sad to know about it, but we still have today Monica and Gianna, so we shall go now directly to our debate. So I would please ask Gianna to open her microphone and open also a camera, because now the idea would be to have a short debate in order to listen to your experiences, your recommendations on how in Latin America and the rest of the world we could improve the presence of women in leadership for innovation. So first question I would like to ask to both of you is the following. Today we have many women following us on YouTube, on Zoom, and these women are women that would like to take more protagonism in innovation in their companies, in their communities. I would like to ask you what kind of advice you would like to give to these women in order to strengthen their position in innovation in their companies. Gianna, okay. What would be your advice?
Yeah. First of all, I think that women, we should think that we can do everything that we want. We don't have barriers, obstacles. So first of all, I believe that we need to believe in ourselves, to study, to be prepared each time more. This is very important for men and women. So in the point of view of the management of the companies, I believe that corporate policies to include women in strategical levels, it's very important, right? To have, I have my experience here at CNI, and here at CNI, we have 3 directors, 3 that are women. So I think that this is a very good example, and we are in industrial representation that someone could think, oh, it's difficult for an industry or an industry representation to accept a woman, and it's not true. We have this opportunity And I believe that it's very important so that the companies, they have goals that they can all support women. And the more experienced women, I believe that we have a very important responsibility to coach women from our teams and others. An initiative like this one, it's very important, right? To discuss gender equity and to discuss and open the mind of people that this is very important for our companies, for our countries, and also for the world. Brazil, we have more women in the population, more than 50%. So I can't imagine that Brazil will be a developed country without the inclusion of women in this development, right? And in the point of view of the countries, I also believe that public policies are very important. We have a very good example here in Brazil, that is the Law Maria da Penha. The Law Maria da Penha was a milestone here on the rights of women in Brazil. I believe that the framework of the laws in Brazil is very good, but we need to apply the laws and also to practice this in each day.
Thank you so much, Monica. You are an IT woman, and IT is as much the reputation of being a very male-oriented surrounding. So tell us, what would you recommend? What would be your advices for all these IT women that are listening to us right now, or these startups owner women who has technologies that can change the world? What would you advise to them?
I would have to start, like Gianna said, completely with preparation, studying, preparation. IT changes every day. So if you're not up to date, you can't wait for the company to give you a course. You can't wait for the company to make you train on something. You need to be updated, reading, doing. Today, we have platforms like Udemy. We have so many free platforms that we can work and just get updated all the time. It is about knowing. It's about know-how. It is what you know. And if you're the best at what you do, you will be picked. It's number one. And number two, I understand, and I get it now. It is about networking as well. Mm-hmm. I'm part of this group called Mulheres no Comando. I love it. I love it. I mean, we talk about things that happen with women every day. Every day. People that are rejected in their jobs, people that girls that are going to interviews, maybe a little bit not sure of themselves, so we help them. I mean, I've had 3 mentees till now. I had so much fun working with them and talking to them and reliving their dreams, and just we have to focus on what they have to learn. They're not going to make it happen tomorrow. They need to plan. They need to structure. They need to go to detail. They need to be fast and intelligent in what they're going to do. It is, and if you don't have that profile, use us. So let's do the networking. There's people that are better in finance. The others are more creative. The other ones know more of sales. Just get us to talk to each other and help us around. This will be the best thing to do. Networking. I get it now. I didn't get it before. Today, it's about working with people that know what you're going through. And this is a women's group. I don't know. I'm sure there's more women's group out there, but this one I love. That's my recommendation.
Thank you very much. So we have plenty of good advices here. We have heard the importance of improving your capabilities, your skills. So develop your skills is an important tip here. We have the mentoring, very important mentoring that was mentioned by Gianna, right? Find a good mentor to be with you and to give you the advice of the experience that the mentor has, And networking is very important as a professional, right? And for women, we have associations that would help women for having access to this network. So you mentioned Mulher no Comando. My second question would be exactly where, Gianna, where, Monica, do you think that women could find networks that could help her having access to other women that went through same kind of challenges they will face?
Well, in Brazil, we have, first of all, we have institutions from the government that takes care of this, of gender equity. And from the government, we have. Also, we have civil society organizations, many civil societies that works with gender equality, and many UN, for example, agencies here in Brazil working with gender equality. We have, for example, UNDP, United Nations Development Program. We have UN Women, Habitat, for example. So if a woman wants to find an institution to support her, I believe that it's just a question to find it, you know, little research, and at least in Brazil, right, that they can find institutions from many sectors that could support her.
Very nice. Monica, you mentioned Mulher no Comando. Maybe you know other institutions that could be mentioned here.
Women in Leadership. It's called Women in Leadership, and you can find it all over. It's LinkedIn, I use it very little. It's on Facebook. What's the other one? I can't believe this. Well, it doesn't matter. Social media, okay? Women in Leadership, Instagram. Thank you, Isadora. Instagram. I use it very little, but that's okay. I would recommend, and again, we're going through this, okay? Getting a mentor, getting a structure, but focusing in your area. If you're IT, there's so many groups of IT that can help you in all of the ways you can think of it. You don't necessarily have to be just only women, okay? This is about getting into groups and doing networking and getting to a high level of understanding of what's going on in the market, not only for women, but for IT. This is about knowledge. This is about power with knowledge. If you want to have power and control over your own life, you need to know what you're doing. So it is about know-how and just selling this know-how, which will sell immediately with the people that you're working with. People will catch up. It is attractive to know what you're doing. It is really attractive to know what you're doing.
So once again, knowledge is the solution. Knowledge is the answer, right? If
Yeah.
you are a very knowledgeable person, independently of being a man or a woman, you will, of course, find your leadership because you are very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So my last question for today would be the following. We have not spoke so much about the policies, the internal policies inside companies. So the question would be, do you believe that affirmative policies inside of companies can be helpful in order to promote more women in leadership? Gianna, for example, you mentioned that at CNI, you have many directors who are women. So what kind of policies, or if there is any need for any policy inside of companies, can be put in place in order to have what you have at CNI, more women in the role of directors?
Here at CNI, we don't have an affirmative policy, but we are very open, okay? And to include women in managerial and strategic levels. But I worked, for example, at UNDP, United Nations Development Program, for 15 years. And there, for example, we have affirmative policies, right? I remember, this is a long time ago, but in another life, but I remember that, for example, one target was to have 50% of women in a strategic level, right? And not just as secretaries, assistants, right? Taking decisions. So this is a very good example. And recently I organized an event with WIPO because we are partners of the Global Innovation Index. That is a publication from WIPO, Cornell University, and INSEAD. And being an event from WIPO, I had to deal with this question because I needed to organize the launching of the report, and I needed to have 50% of women. And unfortunately, it's very difficult to find 50% of women in very strategic level of the companies, right? Here in Brazil, I am the executive coordinator of huge mobilization, the entrepreneurial mobilization to innovation in Brazil. It's a movement. It's not institutional. And we have almost 400 CEOs and entrepreneurial leaders, but we don't have many women in this level, C-level, I would say. And the women that we have, they are their companies have affirmative policies. Yes.
So that's a very interesting indication, right?
Yes. No, yes. I mean, almost all the CEOs from women, they are from international companies.
That's very interesting. Monica, what is your opinion on that? How do you think that affirmative policies inside of companies can be helpful in order to have more equity in leadership for women?
There's a huge debate regarding this affirmative action, because this is about fairness. And again, if there are, Gianna just said, there's not enough women maybe prepared, okay? Because it's a choice. Having to be an executive or a director and having a house and having to run the house and having to run the children and having to run and doing 5,000 things at the same time is hard as hell. So that's why there's not many people doing this. It is a fact. I don't know, 5 years ago, I would say absolutely, affirmative action, completely. Today, I think I'm the only women director in Tech Mahindra Latin America. So that tells you that my company, even though they're doing a lot of work regarding women feeling good in the workplace, it's not enough. So yes, we should implement affirmative action, even though it's going to be a great debate. We should implement it because if we don't push them, nothing's going to happen.
Yes. And I also believe that this is sometimes it's very difficult to see what happens, right? Because I remember when I worked for UN, I had many tasks, and one of them was to be the head of contracts, acquire new talents to the organization. And when you are choosing, for example, a new employer, and you have men and women in the same level, nobody is equal another, right? But sometimes we have people that are very similar, right? And I remember that we used to give priority for women or other minorities, right? So this is a good example on how to promote gender equality in the organizations.
At least in the first push. We should do it now.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to let you know, at Enrich, we have this kind of affirmative behavior at our director board. We absolutely want to have 50% of women and 50% of men composing the director board of Enrich. This is part of our affirmative, really concrete behavior in order to have a more overall complete understanding of the nature of innovation and the needs of society. Because if we really want to be tuned into society, we need to have this kind of good representativity and equity. So this is a wonderful debate we have having today, but unfortunately we are getting to the end of this webinar today. So I would like to give you the floor once again and one last time for this webinar, Gianna and Monica, in order to give your final message, your conclusion for today. So please, what would be your conclusion? And this meeting is being recorded, this webinar is being recorded, so plenty of people will look at us in the future. Please, what would you like to give as a final message to all our participants today? Gianna, please.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you again for the invitation and to congratulate with Enrich for such an important topic to discuss. I really believe that this is discussing and promoting public policies and corporate policies to support gender equality is crucial, I mean, strategic for our development. And as I showed in my presentation, the numbers shows that it's important to promote gender equality because it also gives outcomes for the companies and for the organizations. Diversity is very important for innovation, for development. So I really believe that it's important to talk about this, and thank you again.
Thank you, Gianna. Wonderful to have you today. Monica, please, what would be your final words, conclusion for today?
I would encourage women to get prepared for the best. I think languages not only prepare them in their own task or their own specialty. Languages would be a fantastic way of opening up a several amount of opportunities. Closing up saying I don't speak any language, so people are going to discriminate me because I don't speak English. It's not about that. It's just go ahead and start speaking English, Spanish, French. I don't know. I don't care. Fact is, languages will open up to a different area. The mindset of Brazil or Latin America is still summa chauvinist, and it is about going outside and looking for the world. And today, in a remote situation where the pandemic has given us this digital way of thinking and this digital way of managing situations, we need to be prepared because the boom is coming and we need to be there. All of affirmative actions that will happen in different companies, like Gianna said, we're going to make money and we have to be prepared to do that. And it's cool.
Thank you so much, Monica. Thank you very much for your time today. You are very high-level directors, both of you, Gianna and Monica, and you gave us this wonderful gift of receiving your time today and your wisdom, I would say, your experience. I'm sure this is going to inspire many, many people now and in the future. So
thank you for inviting me. I'm sorry. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, sure. So in the name of Enrich in Brazil, we do thank you for your time. And we do thank you for all of us for your attention today. Enrich in Brazil is this center that will strengthen the relationship between Latin America and Europe for science, technology, and innovation. And as we said before, gender equity is a core, strong value for us. That's the reason why we wanted to have this wonderful debate today. Stay tuned on Enrich. Follow us on Twitter, on YouTube, on all social media. And we hope to see you very soon in our next webinar. Thank you, Gianna. Thank you, Monica.